Okay, Smackdown Live. Now let's get this done quickly. We got one day before Payback, which I should be watching and I should do a review on. But I want to tell you, what did we get for this Smackdown? Was it something memorable? John Cena? Yes. But that's roughly it. When it comes to the Bloodline storyline, there's only one thing you're getting, and that's currently Jimmy being built to return to the Bloodline. Because you saw the ending of the show. He's trying to show that he's a one. Now, does that mean he's trying to return? It looks like it might be. But the key of this is, can Jimmy, Solo, and possibly Paul only sell the storyline of the Bloodline? Right now it feels flat. But that's because it's just started. They've taken a long time before Jimmy has said or done anything since he got super kicked in the face and Jay left. And now Roman's not there. Jay's not there. The two most important people. What I told you guys, what should have happened was Jay should have became basically the head of the table. He should have became the tribal chief. But they didn't want to go there with that. They wanted to keep it on Roman. That's flat out truth. And now they have to try and sell that. And I told you guys, if they didn't do it with Jay, they're going to have a hard sell. Because right now the storyline's here. It's not here. It's not here. It's not here. Going straight up like a rocket up your ass. It's right here. Cresting. Slightly cresting. Because right now you're going to have to try and build Jimmy into the Bloodline, and then Jay going after him and having a match between the two, because they've already said the one thing they both want so badly is to have a match against each other just once, to have a story and to have a program together against one another at least once in their lives in WWE. That's what they want, and they're going to build that up. But can they make it work? I can't tell you yes or no, because we're at the very beginning of it. And because it's the very beginning, it's cresting. Now, can they bring the crest back up to straight and go up? I don't know. For me personally, the Bloodline storyline should have culminated into Jay winning the damn title and recognition of the tribal chief. I said that was the best way to make it work and to put more mileage onto the Bloodline storyline, but they're not going there. So they're going to have to sell this. And they tried to sell the beginning with John Cena. Now, here's where it gets interesting, guys. Listen to my... Now, you're going to have to listen to me because many of you will not understand why John Cena is back. There's a reason John is back. If you think, oh, he's missed WWE, he's been having fun. No. There's a major reason why he's back. And there's only one reason. The strike. Now, if you have been living under a rock, the the Writers Guild and the Screen Actors Guild have gone on strike. Because of it, all major movie studios cannot work without writers, and they cannot work without actors. They're under union, and they cannot just let them work. Now, there was a situation where a few very high actors were allowed to work on certain projects, which I think has been axed. Because a lot of the actors got pissed that the most highest paid actors and actresses got they want. And they're starving in the street. Literally. They're starving. And the more higher actors that get paid maybe several $1 million a year are getting these very rare shots. Fuck them. We want them not to work. So as far as I know, they've stopped that. As far as I know. But John Cena is no different than anyone else. He cannot work. That's the only reason he's gone back to WWE, because he's got nothing else better to do. Even NoDQ.com reported that John Cena came back to WWE because he had been talking with WWE to come back because of SAG. And that's the Screen Actors the American Screen Actors Guild. So he came back because there was no option for him. So that's the reason why he's back for the next couple of months until the strike is over. And I want to make this clear to you guys. If you don't know the situation of what's going to happen for you guys, because even though this is wrestling, some wrestlers do movies. John Cena, The Rock, whenever he decides to come back to wrestling again, and several other wrestlers have done movies. Right now, as it stands, there has not been anything produced for 4 or 5 months now. And because of this huge gap, there will not be anything produced for almost a year or two. I'm telling you right now, whatever you're going to see now that's about to be shown on TV, and it's going to be released in movies, was filmed within the beginning of the year and last year. Anything that was filmed for TV was at the beginning of the year and last year. Anything new? No. You will not see anything new unless they stop the strike now and they start working on new material. That is the only way they're going to solve the problem. Because as it stands now, you will not see anything new except reality TV shows. That's it. And anything that's been pre-recorded for the last 6 months to last year, and old reruns of everything else you loved. There you go. Let me make this clear. John Cena, wanted to make it clear that he was back for them. Bullshit, he's back because he's got nothing to do. He wanted to make it clear that the WWE is getting him so much, he wants to get back. Now he's going to have the opportunity to go to India. He's going to have the opportunity to be the host of Payback. And he will be working a program on Smackdown. That is what he told everybody. And as he was continuing, Jimmy, Jonathan, and John. Think about this. You got Jonathan and Jonathan Fatu, and you got John Cena. 2 Johns. What? Johnny and John, Jonathan and John, whatever they call themselves. He comes out. He makes it very clear. What are you doing here? You ain't nothing. I'm all that's important. Now, mind you, he came out with new music. I didn't like it. He didn't come out with new clothing. He didn't come out with a new persona. He's still the old John. In other words, Jimmy. But he makes it clear, I'm the one who's the most important, who's focused here. I did everything I needed to for my brother. So he basically repeated what he did 3 weeks ago. He said that he did this because he didn't want his brother to turn to Roman. And he said simply that John is no better than Roman. Which basically that's true. Roman has become a John Cena. There ain't nothing wrong with it. That's the deal. Understand, when you're talking about wrestlers, they politic in the back. They do whatever they got to get what they need to do. Now, some do it honestly, working their asses off, working on their promos, working on their skills, working on their ring work, working on their clothing, becoming more sharp to become more interesting. Others will do whatever they have to do. They will politic in the back. They will stab someone in the back. They will screw somebody. They'll do whatever they got to do. So there are 2 types of wrestlers. Let's make it clear. There are. But he makes it clear that he's more important. And then John Cena himself says, you know, there's something I've been wanting to say to you for 3 years. And he goes, there's only one thing. There goes that method acting. The wrong Uso quit. Would that make anybody else mad? It would make that Samoan blood boil. But what did we get? An AA for his trouble. Jimmy got an AA for his trouble. Then later, after that segment, he interrupts Michin, who wants to wrestle. Supposedly, the way she was talking, she was injured. Maybe she has been, or maybe she's just been stuck being a manager, which I've said for quite a while, sucks. She deserves to be working unless she's actually injured. If she's not injured, then they just stuck her with the OC as a manager. But she got interrupted by him. Adam Pearce said, don't do that. You've been messing with people. Cut it out. And AJ pretty much confronts him and say, why are you doing the way you are? Why are you acting the way you are? You interrupted me, Chan. And then we get a little scuffle. And we get Solo coming out saying, you're out of the bloodline when we say you are. And he says, and this is Jimmy, I don't need to answer to you or to Roman or to Paul. Walks away. This is what we got from the beginning to some parts of the show. I'm not going to say it was great, but it wasn't what it was. Now, Grayson Waller and Austin Fury versus Rey and Santos Escobar. Now, I know that just Alex is going to say, I can't tell the difference between a Grayson Waller and a Austin Fury. Honestly, I can't. I can tell one has more talent than the other. But the way they've both been booked very similarly. There's a difference between both of them having very similar characters and both of them being purposely booked similarly. And when it comes down to it, Grayson has been booked similar to an Austin Fury to a certain extent. But I'm not going to lie. What just Alex said is true. Austin had a lot of opportunity to try and raise himself up, even with a John Cena. But he's still lacking something. There is something missing. It's obvious. He's missing something, and even though they have pushed him, very similar to Grayson Waller, who they've been pushing more as an announcer, talking on the Grayson Waller effect. Yes, he was injured, but there could have been more. It feels like they just put them similar in the same box. So when you see them talking in their interview, you can see more personality. You can see they are being more personality. They got a lot of work to do if they stay a tag team. Because I have a feeling they may keep them as a tag team, or at least let them continue working together. Both of them have to work out who's going to be more charismatic than the other, who's going to be more conceited than the other. Are they both going to show a certain type of attitude, like showing they're being not just heelish, but very light, cheat, and steal heelish, or a stealing type of heel team, or a lying type of heel team, whatever. It counts. Match was alright, but in the end, Waller got the pin on Santos Escobar. The question is going to be, is this a tag team, or are they just letting him have this because they're just going to pair them together for a little while? I don't know. Now, the match that was very, very short, LWO of El Toro and Wild versus the tag champs. Now, I know I could talk about Bobby. I'm going to talk about that later. But I just want to get the match over with because it was very short. I don't even know how long it was. 6-7 minutes? It wasn't that long. And it felt like it should have gone longer. Yeah, we got a good amount of El Toro doing some good work along with Wild. But it felt like it could have been longer than that. That's just me. When it was all over, we got a small promo. Well, the reason I boxed this is because it felt empty. Look, let's make this clear. You've had Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens dealing with Judgment Day for quite a long time now. And I'm done with it. I'm sorry. I'm done with it. I am bored of seeing the tag champs dealing with Judgment Day when this is the first time I've seen them in a while actually deal with anyone other than Judgment Day outside of Raw. Because most of the time they've been on Raw, very little on SmackDown, and they've never even gone to NXT. This is the first time, and I felt like they should have had a longer match. This should have been the closing match of the show. And it wasn't. Even though it wasn't a title match. It could have been something. I'm just saying. Next, Shotzi versus Bayley. This is where the problem is with this as well. It wasn't that it was short. Unlike when it came to LWO, where it was really short and there's no story behind it. It's just a tag match with them with the tag champs. Here there's a story, but then Shotzi feels empty. The match is not the issue here. Yeah, Shotzi is not one of the best wrestlers, but she didn't look that bad. And neither did Bayley. But the story feels lacking because Shotzi's been off TV for a bit. We haven't seen her. Yeah, we've seen a couple of times, but we haven't really seen her by herself or doing something else other than that. Doing video packages, doing anything that can really get her over. Next to working with Bayley because Bayley cut her hair. It's missing. And yes, we got Charlotte coming out in the most ridiculous clothes again. In really high heels that are this high. Let's make it clear. Charlotte's not a short woman. But with those, it makes it even look longer. And I think she didn't need to wear that. She helped her to win. And now they're going to have a tag match, next week? But I'm not feeling Shotzi. Because they've not done anything with her. Other than doing the cryptic things on the camera. They have not let her have a match by herself. They have not let her really show that she's even gone more crazy. Look at Crazy Steve. Or Steve, as I call him, from Impact Wrestling. He did a 3-part series to show how he's alone. No more menagerie. No more, well, basically, they were called a menagerie. Then they were called Decay. He worked with Rosemary. He worked with Habit. He worked with Black Taurus. He's not working with anyone. He's alone. Everyone's doing stuff on their own. And now he's turned a switch on where either he could become a really, really good guy or an extremely deadly bad guy where he's been trying to gouge people's eyes out with his thumbs. That is crazy, Steve. But with Shotzi, I haven't felt anything from her other than her cutting her hair, doing something cryptic, at least once or twice, and then they leave it blank while everything is supposed to be revolving around Bianca. Calm down. We had to deal with Asuka, Bianca, and Charlotte when it came to Damage Control. Nothing with Shotzi, barely. We were supposed to see Shotzi as well, separate from them, and we've seen nothing. So, you get my point. Okay, let's talk about the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley. Do I feel something from Bobby? Yes. Other than him now being fired from Raw. I just found that out. I didn't realize he got fired from Raw. Because I didn't watch Raw last week. Or this week. I didn't watch it. But he's fired from Raw. So now he's on SmackDown. And he's setting up the Street Profits to be with him. Street Profits don't feel different. Mind you, their attire looks great. But they don't feel different enough. And that's the problem for me personally. Seeing them coming out, dancing around like they normally do, is what throws it off for me. If they're going to be with Bobby Lashley, they should not be doing the same normal old-ass stick of seeing Montez Ford with the Cello Cup. He should not be doing that anymore. And Angelo Dawkins going like this? No. They doing this? No. It's not the point if it's still popular. It's the point that we need them to change. And even though they came out, they thanked Bobby by being by their side to motivate them. There was one person missing. One. One person needs to be there that will fill in the ensemble. And that's Bianca Belair. Now, they did show Bianca getting a leg nailed badly and she's out for the moment. But the key for me is this. When she comes back, she needs to join Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins, and Bobby Lashley. That faction needs Bianca. That faction needs Bianca as a heel. That's what the problem is when it comes to the Street Profits. They're not feeling like heels. Bobby is Bobby. He doesn't need to change how he is. When he goes in that ring, it's like a switch. You can feel, no matter if he's a good guy or bad guy, a switch goes off, he's dangerous. But with the Street Profits, when I'm playing around, I don't feel it. I don't feel it. And that's the problem. That switch needs to be turned on where they're not like their usual selves. And that's what needs to be with Bianca. The final match is AJ versus a Solo Sikoa. Honestly, it was not the match that was important. It was an okay match. It was Jimmy coming in, helping Solo to win, and then doing the one after he did and kicks AJ's face off. Excuse me. As you can hear, my voice is sounding better. I'm getting there, guys. I still cough, just bit my tongue a little bit. But essentially, I'm getting better, just if you're asking. But I want to say this. I believe that Jimmy coming back to the bloodline at this point is the only thing they can do. Not it's the wisest thing to do. It's the only thing they can do. You don't have Jay, who should have been the tribal chief. You don't have Roman right there, who would still be champion if the tribal chief moniker was on the line. You wouldn't have to worry about it. But in the end, we don't have neither one of them. So Jay has to come back, eventually come after Jimmy, who is part of the bloodline. They don't have an option now. And as I said, they're right here, they're cresting. They got to figure a way to make this crest go back up and stabilize until Jay and Roman comes back. Because if they don't, this is going to slide no matter what they say and what they do. The bloodline storyline will drop like a stone. And it'll end just like some of those stories that happened with some of the factions that drove us to love it and then despise it. Like Aces and Eights. No matter what anyone says, Ace and Nates was one of the best factions in wrestling when they kept it within a certain time. And then they wanted to stretch it. And it went from here, held, there, and it dropped like a stone. I watched it. I reviewed it back in the day. Look at I don't have a playlist, but look back in 2013 when Aces and Eights was around, or 12. I reviewed it. It was one of the best factions, but then eventually they went too long with it and they killed it. Here, the question is, can they make it go from a crest back to being flat? Or is it going to crest and drop like a stone? You guys tell me below. Peace.